The Texas sun beat down on my backyard as I manned the grill, flipping burgers and checking the ribs that had been smoking for hours. The sound of children's laughter filled the air. My boys, Jaden and Colin, were playing tag with their cousins. My brother Mike was setting up the volleyball net while my parents chatted with Lauren's folks under the patio awning. It was supposed to be a perfect Sunday afternoon. "Dad, when's the food gonna be ready?" Jaden called out, his 10-year-old face glistening with sweat. 20 minutes, champ," I said, giving him a wink. "Go wash up." I glanced over at my wife, Lauren. She was sitting alone at the edge of the patio, staring at her phone. Again. For the past 3 months, that phone had become practically attached to her hand. She'd changed the password too, something she'd never done in our 11 years of marriage. The night before, I'd reached for her in bed. She'd flinched away, muttering something about being tired. It was the 3rd time that week she'd rejected my touch. A knot formed in my stomach as I watched her now, her fingers flying over the screen, a small smile playing on her lips. Whoever she was texting made her happier than I had in months. "Honey, can you bring out the potato salad?" I called to her. She looked up startled, as if I'd woken her from a dream. "What?" "Oh, yeah, sure." She disappeared into the house without another word. My mother approached the grill, a concerned look on her face. "Everything okay with you two?" she asked quietly. "Just busy with work," I lied, forcing a smile. "You know how it is." But things weren't okay. Not by a long shot. Lauren and I had been growing apart for months. What started as occasional late nights at the office had evolved into weekend team-building events and emergency client meetings. I wasn't an idiot. The signs were all there, but I'd been pushing them away, focusing on the kids, on my job as marketing director at Skybrand Solutions, on anything but the obvious truth. Last week, I'd found a receipt for dinner at Moretti's, a high-end Italian restaurant downtown. $230 for dinner, plus an $80 bottle of wine. When I'd casually mentioned it, asking if she'd taken a client there, Lauren had snatched the receipt from my hand. "It was a work thing," she'd snapped. "Why are you checking up on me?" I hadn't been checking up on her. The receipt had fallen from her purse when she'd asked me to grab her car keys, but her reaction told me everything I needed to know. The doorbell rang. I frowned. Everyone we'd invited was already here. "I'll get it," Lauren called out, suddenly energized. She practically sprinted to the front door. I heard voices, laughter, her laugh, bright and musical in a way I hadn't heard in months. And then she appeared on the patio with a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, at least 3 inches taller than my 6 feet, with the kind of muscular build that spoke of regular gym sessions, designer sunglasses, expensive watch, perfect teeth. Everything about him screamed money and confidence. "Everyone," Lauren announced, her voice oddly high-pitched. "This is Travis. Travis Henderson. He's a friend from work." The way she said friend made my stomach twist. Travis nodded at the assembled family members with casual confidence before his eyes landed on me. There was something in his gaze, a challenge maybe, or simple disdain. "So you're Alex," he said, walking over to the grill. "Lauren's told me so much about you." "Funny," I replied, maintaining my composure. "She's never mentioned you." An uncomfortable silence fell over the backyard. My father cleared his throat and started talking loudly about the Cowboys' chances this season. My mother-in-law pulled Lauren aside, whispering furiously. The children, sensing the tension, gravitated toward the safety of their grandparents. Travis helped himself to a beer from the cooler, popping it open with a flourish. "Nice place you've got here," he said, looking around with the air of someone evaluating property. Quaint. Our 4-bedroom house in North Austin wasn't a mansion, but it was far from quaint. We'd worked hard for it, saved for years while living in a cramped apartment. I'd pulled double shifts at my first marketing job, and Lauren had taken on freelance work on weekends. Every brick in this house represented our sweat and sacrifice. "Travis works in venture capital," Lauren explained, returning to his side. "He's helping our company secure its next round of funding." "Is that what they're calling it these days?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Lauren's eyes flashed with anger. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said, turning back to the grill. "Food's almost ready. Everyone can start taking seats." My hands were trembling slightly as I transferred the burgers to a platter. I felt like I was in some surreal nightmare. My wife had brought her lover to our family barbecue, introducing him to our children, our parents. The sheer audacity of it made my head spin. The next hour was excruciating. Travis dominated the conversation, talking about his travels to Tokyo and Paris, his vacation home in Aspen, the startup he'd sold for millions before he turned 30. Throughout it all, Lauren gazed at him with undisguised admiration. The condo in Aspen is right on the slopes, Travis was saying. Floor-to-ceiling windows, private hot tub on the deck. Lauren, you should have seen the sunset the last time I was there. Reminded me of that view from our hotel in Santorini. I froze mid-bite. Santorini? Lauren had never been to Santorini. She'd always talked about wanting to go to Greece, but we'd never made it there. Lauren's face flushed deep red. Travis, she murmured, a warning in her voice. He caught himself, glancing my way. I mean, the photos I showed you, from my trip last year, my brother Mike kept shooting me concerned glances. My father had grown increasingly quiet, a sure sign he was angry. The only ones who seemed oblivious to the tension were the kids, thankfully engrossed in their own world of games and sugar-fueled energy. More ribs, Travis, I offered, holding out the platter. I'm good, he said dismissively, trying to watch the carbs. Though I make exceptions for certain pleasures. His eyes flicked to Lauren, who blushed. That was the moment I knew for certain. The look they exchanged wasn't subtle or ambiguous. It was the look of two people who had seen each other naked. I set down the platter carefully, feeling strangely calm. Lauren, can I see you inside for a minute? We're in the middle of lunch, Alex, she said, not meeting my eyes. It won't take long. With visible reluctance, she followed me into the kitchen. As soon as the door swung shut behind us, I turned to face her. What the hell is going on? I asked, keeping my voice low. Why is your friend here at our family barbecue? She crossed her arms defensively. He was in the neighborhood and wanted to stop by. What's the big deal? The big deal? Lauren, the man is practically marking his territory out there. Our kids are present. Our parents are here. Have you lost your mind? You're overreacting, she said, reaching for the door. He's just being friendly. I caught her arm. Is he the reason you've been coming home late? Is he why you changed your phone password? She yanked her arm away. Don't do this, Alex. Not now. When, then? When would be a convenient time to discuss why you've invited your lover to our family gathering? Her face hardened. You're being paranoid and ridiculous. I'm going back outside. Santorini, Lauren? When exactly did you go to Santorini with him? She froze, her hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I thought she might finally admit the truth. Instead, she squared her shoulders and turned to face me, her expression cold. Last month, the marketing conference in Chicago, I was with Travis in Greece. Her voice was flat, emotionless. Happy now? The confirmation struck like a physical blow. I'd suspected, but hearing her say it aloud made it real, in a way that twisted my gut. How long? I managed to ask. Does it matter? It matters to me. She sighed, a sound of exasperation rather than remorse. 7 months, maybe 8. 7 months. While I'd been coaching Jaden's Little League team, helping Colin with his science project, planning our summer vacation, my wife had been sleeping with another man. Why bring him here, I asked, genuinely bewildered. Why today, with everyone we love watching? Something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps even shame, but it vanished quickly. It wasn't my idea, she admitted. Travis wanted to meet the boys. Meet the... I stopped, the implications hitting me. You're planning to leave. That's what this is about. She didn't deny it. I was going to tell you next week. After I'd secured my own place, I stood in the kitchen alone, my hands shaking with suppressed rage and humiliation. Through the window, I could see Travis put his arm around Lauren's chair as she sat back down. My brother Mike was on his feet now, clearly agitated, while my father had moved to sit with the children, probably to keep them distracted. Taking a deep breath, I returned to the backyard, determined to get through the afternoon without causing a scene. For the kids. Just for the kids. But Travis had other plans. As I approached the table, he stood up, blocking my path. Look, Alex, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. I think we should clear the air. You seem upset about something. This isn't the time or place, I said quietly. No, I think it is, he insisted, moving closer. See, Lauren's been unhappy for a long time. She deserves better than this. He gestured vaguely at me, at our home. A deadly silence fell over the gathering. Even the children stopped playing. Travis, stop, Lauren said, but there was no real conviction in her voice. No, he needs to hear this, Travis continued, his voice taking on a condescending tone. You've been holding her back, man. She's brilliant. She could be running that company if she wasn't always rushing home to play house. My father stood up. I think it's time for you to leave, son. Travis ignored him, his eyes fixed on me. Do you know what she told me? She said being with you is like being slowly suffocated, like watching paint dry. Each word hit like a physical blow. I looked at Lauren, hoping for a denial, but she was staring at the ground, her face flushed. I'm not going to do this in front of my children, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Please leave my home. Travis smirked. Your home? That's cute. Tell him, Lauren. My wife finally looked up, her eyes meeting mine. The house is in my name too, Alex. And Travis isn't going anywhere. What is happening right now? My mother whispered loudly. Travis stepped closer to me, his voice dropping so only I could hear. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag and leave. Lauren will call you tomorrow about divorce arrangements. And don't worry about the kids. I've always wanted sons. Something inside me snapped. My sons? You're talking about my sons? Alex, calm down, Lauren said, standing up. No, let him speak, Travis taunted. Let's hear what the man of the house has to say. Dad? Jaden's uncertain voice cut through the tension. He and Colin were watching, wide-eyed confusion and fear on their faces. I turned to my brother. Mike, take the kids inside, please. No way, Travis interjected. They should see this. They should see what happens when a real man takes charge. He took another step toward me. Time for you to go, Alex. I'm running things now. And then he shoved me, hard. I stumbled backward, caught off balance. Gas erupted around the table. Lauren's mother cried out. The children froze. Travis, that's enough, Lauren hissed, but he wasn't listening. What are you going to do about it? Travis goaded, shoving me again. Come on, big man. Show us all how tough you are. I held my ground this time. Last chance. Leave my property. He laughed in my face. Make me. Then he swung. His fist connected with my jaw, sending me staggering. Pain exploded across my face. I tasted blood. Alex, my mother screamed. Time seemed to slow down. I saw my son's terrified faces. I saw my father lunging forward, only to be held back by my brother. I saw Lauren, her hand over her mouth, making no move to intervene. Travis advanced on me again, confident in his victory. See, Lauren? This is who you married. A pathetic. I didn't let him finish. Years of boxing in college came back to me in an instant. I ducked his next swing and countered with a right hook that connected squarely with his jaw. The impact sent shockwaves up my arm. But Travis was the one who went down, crashing into the table and sending plates and glasses flying. He sprawled on the ground, blood streaming from his split lip, looking up at me in shock. Dad! Colin cried out, and the sound of my 7-year-old's voice brought me back to reality. Mike, get the kids inside now, I ordered. And this time my brother moved quickly, ushering the children and my parents into the house. Travis struggled to his feet, fury distorting his handsome features. You're dead, he snarled, charging at me like a bull. I sidestepped and used his momentum against him, sending him sprawling into the grill. It toppled over with a crash, scattering hot coals across the patio. Travis howled as one burned through his designer shirt. Stop it! Both of you, stop it! Lauren was screaming now, finally reacting. But Travis was beyond reason. He grabbed a beer bottle from the ground and smashed it against the table, brandishing the jagged remains at me. Travis, no! Lauren lurched forward, grabbing his arm. He shook her off violently, sending her stumbling to the ground. That was his fatal mistake. I tackled him with everything I had, driving him backward until we both crashed through the garden table. We hit the ground hard, Travis underneath me. The broken bottle flew from his hand. Before he could recover, I pinned him, my forearm across his throat. If you ever come near my family again, I growled, if you ever so much as look at my children, they won't find enough of you to identify. Fear replaced the arrogance in his eyes. He'd expected an easy victory over a suburban dad. He'd been wrong. I released him and stood up, my body humming with adrenaline. Blood dripped from a cut on my forehead, and my knuckles were raw. Travis scrambled to his feet, backing away. His perfect appearance was in shambles. Designer clothes torn and dirty. Blood streaming from his nose and lip. A burn mark on his chest where the coal had hit him. "Lauren," he gasped, "let's go." And to my disbelief, my wife, the mother of my children, my partner of 15 years, moved to his side. "You're choosing him?" I asked, my voice hollow with shock. "After this?" She couldn't meet my eyes. "I can't do this anymore, Alex. I'm sorry. The kids. I'll call you tomorrow about arrangements," she said, echoing Travis's earlier words. "Don't you dare walk away from them," I said, my voice breaking. "Lauren, think about what you're doing." For a moment she hesitated, looking toward the house where our sons were hidden away. I saw the conflict in her eyes, the maternal instinct warring with whatever this man had promised her. "I need time," she whispered. "I can't think straight right now." "Mom!" Jaden's voice called from the back door. He'd broken away from Mike and stood there, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, where are you going?" Lauren's face crumpled. "I'll be back tomorrow, baby. I promise. Mom just needs a little time." "Don't go with him," Jaden pleaded. "He hurt Dad." Travis grabbed Lauren's arm. "We're leaving." Now, I moved toward my son, blocking his view of the scene. "Go back inside, Jaden. I'll be there in a minute." "Listen to your father," Lauren said, her voice trembling. And then they walked away together, Travis limping slightly, Lauren supporting him. I watched as they got into his silver Porsche and drove away from the wreckage of what had been our family gathering, from the wreckage of our life together. My in-laws stood frozen, horror and embarrassment warring on their faces. "I think you should go too," I told them quietly. Lauren's father nodded stiffly. Her mother opened her mouth as if to say something, then closed it again. They gathered their things in silence and left without a word. The backyard looked like a war zone. Overturned furniture, broken glass, scattered food, the fallen grill still smoking slightly. In the distance, I could hear Colin crying inside the house. My family emerged cautiously from the back door. My mother immediately came to me, her face pale with worry. "Let me clean that cut," she said, examining my forehead. "The boys, they're upset, but they're okay," my father assured me. "Mike's with them." "What happened, Alex?" my mother asked as she dabbed at my wound with a wet cloth. "What was that all about?" I looked at the chaos around us, at the empty space where my wife should have been. "Lauren's been having an affair," I said, the words bitter in my mouth, "and I think she just left me." The next few hours passed in a blur. My parents helped clean up the yard while Mike took the boys out for ice cream, trying to salvage something from the day. I sat at the kitchen table, holding an ice pack to my swollen jaw, trying to process what had happened. When Mike returned with Jaden and Colin, their eyes were red-rimmed, but they'd stopped crying. They ran to me immediately. "Dad, are you okay?" Jaden asked, his young face serious with concern. I hugged them both tightly. "I'm fine, buddy. Just a little banged up." "Where's Mom?" Colin asked, looking around expectantly. How do you tell a 7-year-old that his mother has just walked out, that she chose another man over her family? "Mom needed some time away," I said carefully. She'll call soon." "Is it because of that man?" Jaden asked, surprising me with his perception. "The one who hit you?" I exchanged glances with my brother over their heads. "It's complicated, guys. Adult stuff. But I want you to know that none of this is your fault, okay? Mom and I both love you very much." "But she left," Colin said, his lower lip trembling. "If she loves us, why did she go?" I had no answer for that. That night after we put the boys to bed in a makeshift fort in the living room, I lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling. My mind raced with questions, with anger, with hurt. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lauren walking away with Travis, choosing him over her family, over our sons. Around 3 a.m., I carefully extracted myself from the fort where the boys slept, curled against me, and went to our bedroom. My bedroom now, I supposed. Lauren's closet was still full of clothes. Her jewelry box sat on the dresser. Her reading glasses rested on her nightstand beside a half-finished novel. It was as if she'd just stepped out for a moment and would return any second. I opened her drawer looking for her passport. I needed to know if she'd really been to Greece with him, but what I found instead made my blood run cold. Plane tickets, 2 of them, in Lauren and Travis's names. One way to Seattle, dated for next Thursday, and a brochure for a private school there, with notes in Lauren's handwriting about enrollment deadlines and tuition. She was planning to take my sons across the country, to start a new life with Travis, 3,000 miles away from me. Acting on instinct, I began searching more thoroughly. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it, her old phone in the back of her drawer. She'd upgraded a few months ago, but had kept the old one as a backup. It powered on without requiring a password. What I found made me physically ill. Hundreds of texts between her and Travis, dating back 7 months. Pictures she'd sent him, intimate pictures, taken in our bathroom, in our bed, plans they'd made, complaints about me, about our life together. Alex is a good father, but so boring in bed, she'd written. He has no ambition, no drive, not like you. Leave him, Travis had replied. You deserve better. I can give you everything he can't. There were videos too. I forced myself to watch one, just to be sure. It was them together in what looked like a hotel room. Lauren, my wife of 11 years, the mother of my children, with another man. I shut off the phone, feeling cold all over. 7 months. 7 months of lies, of betrayal, while I worked and cared for our children and tried to figure out why my wife was growing distant. And then, with sudden clarity, I realized something even worse. The Ajidi Raisi, timing of certain messages, the dates of their rendezvous. They lined up perfectly with business trips Lauren had taken. Trips where she'd asked me to hold down the fort with the kids because they were too important to miss. Trips I'd supported her taking, rearranging my own work schedule, taking days off to be with the boys, encouraging her career advancement. I'd been enabling her affair. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I barely made it to the bathroom before I threw up, my body rejecting the painful truth along with the beer and barbecue from earlier. When I emerged, shaky and spent, my father was standing in the hallway. You okay, son? He asked, his weathered face lined with concern. No, I admitted. I'm really not. He nodded once. Come on, let's have a drink. We sat at the kitchen table with 2 glasses of whiskey, speaking in low voices to avoid waking the others. I should have seen it coming, I said, staring into my glass. All the signs were there. Don't do that to yourself, my father replied firmly. She made her choices, Alex. This is on her, not you. But the boys will adjust. Kids are resilient, and they have you. I took a long sip, welcoming the burn. What do I do now? My father's eyes, so similar to my own, held mine steadily. You fight. For yourself. For those boys. You don't let them see you broken. And Lauren? His expression hardened. She walked out on her family, Alex. She let that man put his hands on you in front of your children. Some things can't be forgiven. I knew he was right, but 11 years of marriage doesn't disappear in a day, no matter how catastrophic. Part of me still couldn't believe she was gone, that she'd chosen Travis over everything we'd built together. I found plane tickets, I said, my voice tight. Seattle, one way, and school brochures. My father's expression darkened further. She was planning to take the boys? I nodded, feeling sick again at the thought. Next Thursday. Not going to happen, he said firmly. First thing tomorrow, we call a lawyer. Get some sleep, my father advised, finishing his drink. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. He was right about that. The morning brought a fresh hell I wasn't prepared for. Lauren didn't call. Instead, I received a text. We'll pick up the boys at 2. Travis and I are getting a place together. We can discuss divorce arrangements then. No apology, no explanation. Just the cold, practical details of dismantling our family. She can't just take them, my mother said when I showed her the message. Not after what happened yesterday. She's their mother, I replied, feeling hollow. And technically, she didn't do anything wrong. She didn't hit anyone. She brought that man into your home, my father argued. She allowed him to assault you in front of your children. That's endangerment. Dad's right, Mike added. You need to talk to a lawyer before she gets here. And so, while my parents took the boys to the park to shield them from the ongoing drama, I found myself in the office of Diana Patel, a family law attorney Mike had somehow managed to contact on a Sunday morning. Based on what you've told me, you have a strong case for temporary full custody, she said after listening to my account of the previous day's events, especially with witnesses who can testify to what happened. I don't want to keep my sons from their mother, I said, the words painful to speak aloud. I just don't want them around that man. Diana nodded understanding. We can request a temporary restraining order against Mr. Henderson that would legally prevent him from being present during Lauren's parenting time. Given that he physically assaulted you, that shouldn't be difficult to obtain. And if Lauren refuses, then she would be in contempt of court, Diana explained. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, I recommend you document everything. Take photos of your injuries, write down a detailed account of what happened while it's fresh in your memory, and ask your family members to do the same. I touched my jaw, which had blossomed into an impressive bruise overnight. Already done. Good. Now, about the house and other assets. I hesitated. There's something else you should know. I found evidence that Lauren was planning to take the boys to Seattle, one-way tickets for next Thursday. Diana's expression grew serious. That changes things significantly. If she's planning to remove the children from the state without your knowledge or consent, we need to act immediately. I'll file for an emergency hearing first thing tomorrow morning. What do I do when she comes at 2? Don't let the children leave with her. If she insists, call the police and tell them you have reason to believe she's planning to flee the state with the children. Show them the tickets if necessary. My stomach churned at the thought of such a confrontation in front of my sons. This is going to traumatize them even more. Diana's eyes softened with sympathy. Mr. Reed, I understand this is incredibly difficult, but the alternative, allowing your children to be taken across the country, away from their home, their school, their support system, and most importantly, away from you, would be far more traumatic in the long run. We spent the next hour discussing property division, custody arrangements, and financial considerations. By the time I left her office, I had a clearer picture of the battle ahead and a plan for the immediate future. When I returned home, my parents had brought the boys back from the park. They were subdued, lacking their usual energy. Mom's coming to get us, Jaden asked as soon as I walked in. I sat down with them at the kitchen table. No, not today. You're going to stay with me for now, and Mom can visit. Because of the fighting? Colin asked in a small voice. I nodded, choosing honesty. Partly. Mom and I need some time to figure things out, and it's best if you guys stay in your home with your school and your friends nearby. Is she going to live with that man? Jaden's perception again caught me off guard. I think so, buddy. His face darkened. I don't want to go there. He hurt you. You don't have to go anywhere you don't feel safe, I assured him, pulling both boys into a hug. I promise. At 2 p.m. exactly, the doorbell rang. My parents took the boys upstairs while Mike positioned himself casually in the living room, within earshot but not directly involved. Lauren stood on the doorstep alone, sunglasses hiding her eyes despite the cloudy day. She was wearing clothes I'd never seen before, expensive-looking clothes that weren't her usual style. Where are the boys? She asked without preamble. Inside, where's Travis? She shifted uncomfortably. In the car. I thought it would be better if he waited. At least you got that much right, I said, making no move to let her in. I spoke with a lawyer this morning. That got her attention. She pushed her sunglasses up, revealing reddened eyes. A lawyer? Already? Don't you think you're overreacting? The audacity of her question left me momentarily speechless. Overreacting, I finally managed. Your boyfriend assaulted me in our backyard, in front of our children, and you left with him. How exactly am I supposed to react, Lauren? She had the grace to look ashamed at least. Things got out of hand. Travis feels terrible about it. I don't give a damn how Travis feels. What I care about is what you're putting our sons through. That's why I'm here, she said, her voice taking on an edge of desperation, to take them somewhere calm, away from all this tension. Seattle? I asked pointedly. Her face went pale. What? I found the tickets, Lauren. One way to Seattle for you, Travis, and my sons. Were you even going to tell me or just disappear? It's not, she began, then stopped. It wasn't definite yet. We were just exploring options. Options that involve kidnapping my children? It's not kidnapping when it's their mother, she shot back. Actually, it is. It's called parental abduction, and it's a federal offense. She seemed to deflate slightly, her defensive posture crumbling. I wasn't thinking clearly. Travis thought a fresh start would be good for everyone. The boys aren't going anywhere with you, I stated firmly. Not today, not tomorrow, not to Seattle or anywhere else. Not while you're with him. Her expression hardened. You can't keep my children from me, Alex. I'll call the police. Go ahead. I'm sure they'd be very interested in the assault that took place here yesterday, and your plans to flee the state with the children. My lawyer has already filed for an emergency custody order and a restraining order against Travis. If you want to see the boys, it will have to be without him present. This is ridiculous, she hissed. You're punishing me because you're jealous. Jealous? I laughed bitterly. Lauren, you destroyed our family yesterday. You chose that man over your children. This isn't about jealousy. It's about keeping Jaden and Colin safe. They're safe with me. Are they? Because yesterday they watched your boyfriend attack their father, and instead of protecting them, or me, you left with him. What kind of mother does that? Tears spilled from her eyes. I made a mistake, okay? I wasn't thinking clearly. No, you weren't. And until you start thinking clearly, the boys stay with me. She brushed away her tears angrily. This isn't over, Alex. You can't just decide. Mom? We both turned to see Jaden standing in the hallway, watching us with solemn eyes. Lauren's demeanor changed instantly. Jaden, baby! She pushed past me to reach him, kneeling down to his level. I've missed you so much. Are you ready to come with Mommy for a few days? We'll have fun, I promise. Jaden looked at her, then at me, his young face troubled. Is that man coming too? Lauren faltered. Travis? Well, yes, but I don't want to go, Jaden said firmly. He hurt Dad. I saw him. Sweetie, it was a misunderstanding between grown-ups. Travis is actually very nice when you get to know him. Jaden backed away from her. No, I want to stay with Dad. Lauren's face crumpled. Jaden, please. You heard him, I said quietly. He doesn't want to go. I want to see Colin, she demanded, rising to her feet. He's upstairs. He doesn't want to see you right now. It was a lie, but I couldn't bear to put my younger son through this scene. Colin was more sensitive than his brother, more eager to please. He might agree to go with Lauren just to make her happy, regardless of his own fears. You're turning them against me, she accused, tears streaming freely now. No, Lauren. You did that all by yourself. She pushed past me to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. This isn't over, she repeated. I'll be back with the police. With a court order. Do what you have to do, I replied, suddenly exhausted by it all. But understand this. I will never ever let those boys near Travis Henderson again. You want a war? You've got one. After she left, I sat with Jaden on the couch, my arm around his thin shoulders. Did I do something wrong? He asked, his voice small. No, buddy. You were honest about how you feel, and that's always the right thing to do. Is Mom going to be mad at me now? I hugged him closer. Mom's confused right now, and she's making some bad choices, but she loves you and Colin very much. That will never change. Then why did she go away with that mean man? It was the question I'd been asking myself all night. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, I said carefully. Big mistakes. But that doesn't mean they don't love their kids. Jaden considered this, his face serious beyond his years. Dad? We're not going away, right? Me and Colin? Never, I promised. We're staying right here together." The next morning, my parents reluctantly returned to their home in Houston, needing to get back to work. Mike stayed, taking a few days off to help me navigate the new reality of single parenthood while dealing with the legal aspects of separation. The boys were clingy and emotional, bursting into tears at small frustrations, having nightmares that brought them crawling into my bed in the middle of the night. I did my best to maintain some semblance of normalcy, taking them to school, helping with homework, making their favorite meals. On Tuesday afternoon, I was helping Colin with his math homework when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find two police officers standing on my porch, with Lauren hovering behind them. "Mr. Reed," one of the officers asked, "I'm Officer Jackson. This is Officer Wilson. We've received a report about a custody dispute." My heart sank, but I maintained my composure. "Yes, officer. My wife and I are separated as of Sunday. She's attempting to take our children without my consent." "That's not true," Lauren interjected. "He's keeping them from me illegally." Officer Jackson held up a hand to quiet her. "Sir, do you have any court orders regarding custody?" "My lawyer filed for an emergency hearing yesterday," I explained. "It's scheduled for tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I have reason to believe my wife intends to remove the children from the state without my knowledge or permission." "That's ridiculous," Lauren scoffed. "I have evidence," I said calmly, retrieving the plane tickets from my pocket. One-way tickets to Seattle for my wife, her companion, and my sons, scheduled for this Thursday. The officers examined the tickets, then exchanged glances. "Ma'am, is this accurate?" Officer Wilson asked Lauren. "We were just exploring options," she insisted. "I wasn't going to take them without discussing it with Alex first." "Then why didn't you tell me about the tickets?" I challenged. The officers spoke quietly to each other, then Officer Jackson addressed us both. "Until there's a court order specifying custody arrangements, both parents have equal rights to the children. However," he added, seeing Lauren's triumphant expression, "removing children from the state without both parents' consent can be considered parental abduction." "So what are you saying?" Lauren demanded. "I'm saying that until you have your court hearing tomorrow, it would be best if the children remained in their primary residence with Mr. Reed. You're welcome to visit them here, but we would advise against removing them from the premises." Lauren's face flushed with anger. "This is outrageous. They're my children too." "No one's disputing that, ma'am," Officer Wilson said gently. "But in cases like this, stability is important for the children's well-being." "Can I at least see them?" Lauren asked, her voice breaking. I hesitated, then nodded. "They're inside. Colin's doing homework. But please, don't upset them more than they already are." The visit was awkward and painful. Lauren sat at the kitchen table with the boys, trying to act normal while they regarded her with wary expressions. Colin eventually warmed up slightly, showing her his math worksheet, but Jaden remained distant, answering her questions with one-word replies. The police officers waited on the porch, a visible reminder of how broken our family had become. When it was time for her to leave, Lauren hugged the boys tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I love you both so much," she whispered. "Remember that, okay? No matter what happens." As she walked to the door, she paused beside me. "I'll see you in court tomorrow," she said quietly. "Lauren," I said, keeping my voice low so the boys couldn't hear, "it doesn't have to be this way. If you just agree to keep Travis away from them, he's part of my life now," she interrupted. "The boys will have to accept that eventually." "Even after what he did," her eyes hardened. "He made a mistake. People deserve second chances. Some mistakes can't be forgiven." She looked at me for a long moment. "I guess we'll find out tomorrow which ones." Through it all, my phone remained silent. No calls from Lauren, no texts. It was as if she'd completely abandoned us, until Wednesday. I was at work, having returned to the office for the first time since the incident. My assistant knocked on my door around noon. "Alex, there's a Ms. Patel on line 1 for you. Says it's urgent. Diana Mitchell, my lawyer." I picked up immediately. "Lauren's filed for divorce," she said without preamble, "and she's requesting full custody of both children." I felt the blood drain from my face. "On what grounds?" "She's claiming you have anger management issues, says you attacked Travis unprovoked, and that she fears for the children's safety." That's insane, I growled. There were witnesses. I know, and we'll fight this. But I wanted to prepare you. It's going to get ugly. After hanging up, I sat staring at my computer screen, unable to focus on work. Lauren was actually trying to paint me as the aggressor, to use the incident she and Travis had caused to take my children away. The rage I felt was unlike anything I'd experienced before. Cold, calculating, and absolute. If Lauren wanted a fight, she would get one. But I wouldn't be fighting like her, with lies and manipulation. I would fight with truth. I left work early and drove to our neighborhood, stopping at the houses of 3 neighbors whose security cameras faced our property. By the end of the afternoon, I had video evidence from 2 of them that clearly showed Travis assaulting me first, and Lauren leaving willingly with him afterward. Next, I called Lauren's parents. I don't want to put you in the middle, I told her father, but I need to know. Will you tell the truth about what you saw if it comes to that? There was a long pause before he answered. We love our daughter, Alex. But what happened on Sunday? That wasn't right. We'll testify if we have to. When I checked my phone that evening, after putting the boys to bed, I was shocked to see 113 missed calls, all from Lauren. They had come in waves throughout the day, along with dozens of text messages ranging from pleading to threatening. Please call me. We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. They're my children too. Travis and I broke up. Let me come home. If you don't call me back, I'm coming over. My lawyer says I can get emergency custody because you're withholding the children. The last message had come in just minutes earlier. I'm outside. Let me in or I'll make a scene. I looked out the front window and sure enough, Lauren's car was parked at the curb. As I watched, the driver's side door opened and she stepped out, looking up at the house with a determined expression. Mike appeared beside me. Want me to handle this? I shook my head. No, it's time we talked. I opened the front door just as Lauren reached the porch. She looked terrible, her usually perfect hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes, wearing what appeared to be the same clothes from days ago. Where are they? She demanded, trying to look past me into the house. I want to see my sons. They're asleep, I said, blocking her path. And you're not coming in. You can't keep them from me, Alex. I'm their mother. Lower your voice, I warned. If you wake them up with this scene, I swear to God, Lauren. Or what? She challenged, but she did lower her volume. What are you going to do? I'll call the police and report you for trespassing, I said calmly. Is that what you want? For the boys to see their mother arrested? The fight seemed to drain out of her. Please, she whispered. Please, Alex. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. Which one? The 7-month affair, or bringing your lover to our family barbecue, or leaving with him after he assaulted me, or filing for divorce and requesting full custody, or lying about what happened. Her eyes widened. How did you know about the affair? I found your old phone, Lauren. I saw everything. She sagged against the doorframe. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Travis promised. He said we'd handle it maturely, that the boys would understand. Well, he was wrong. And so were you. I crossed my arms. Where is he now? Gone, she admitted, tears welling in her eyes. When the reality of having me and the kids set in, he bolted, said he wasn't ready for an instant family, that this wasn't what he signed up for. Despite everything, a small part of me wanted to comfort her. Old habits die hard, but the larger part remembered her betrayal, her willingness to throw me under the bus to get what she wanted. So now you want to come home, I stated flatly, now that your fantasy has collapsed. They're my children, Alex. You can't keep them from me. I'm not keeping them from you, Lauren. I'm keeping them safe and stable while their mother figures out what the hell she wants. She wiped away her tears angrily. I want my family back. That's not an option anymore. Her expression hardened. Fine. My lawyer will be in touch. You do that, I replied unmoved. But before you go, you should know that I have security footage of Sunday's incident, and your parents are willing to testify about what they saw. So if you're planning to continue with the story that I was the aggressor, you might want to reconsider. The color drained from her face. You're bluffing. Try me. We stared at each other for a long moment, strangers after 15 years together. I loved you once, she said finally. Did you know that? I loved you until Sunday, I replied honestly. But the woman I loved wouldn't have done what you did. She nodded slowly as if accepting a truth she'd been fighting. Can I see them tomorrow? After school? Without Travis. He's gone, Alex. Really gone. Then yes, you can see them, supervised visits until the court decides otherwise. She flinched at supervised but didn't argue. I'll be here at 4. As she walked back to her car, shoulders slumped in defeat, I felt no triumph, no vindication, just a deep, aching sadness for what had been lost, and for what my sons would now have to navigate growing up. Mike appeared in the hallway behind me. You okay? I closed the door slowly. No, but I will be. The divorce proceedings were messy, as Diana had predicted. Lauren initially fought for full custody, then for joint custody with no restrictions on Travis, then finally, when the evidence mounted against her, for joint custody with a restraining order against Travis in place. In the end, the judge awarded me primary custody, with Lauren receiving generous visitation rights that explicitly barred Travis Henderson from being present. The house remained mine, as Lauren had moved into an apartment closer to her office and showed no interest in returning to the scene of her humiliation. Travis himself never reappeared. According to Lauren, he'd transferred to his company Seattle office, eager to put as much distance as possible between himself and the mess he'd helped create. 6 months after that fateful Sunday, life had found a new rhythm. The boys spent weekdays with me and alternate weekends with Lauren. They were doing better, still occasionally confused and angry, but adapting to the new normal with the resilience of youth. Lauren and I maintained a civil relationship for their sake. The betrayal still stung, but time was slowly dulling its edge. I'd started dating again, cautiously. Nothing serious, just occasional dinners with women friends had introduced me to. One crisp autumn evening, I was sitting on the back patio, repaired and refurnished after the destruction, watching Jaden and Colin play basketball on the small court I'd installed over the summer. The doorbell rang, and I went to answer it, expecting the pizza delivery we'd ordered. Instead, Lauren stood there looking nervous. I know it's not my weekend, she said quickly, but I was in the neighborhood and thought I might say goodnight to the boys. Sure, I said, stepping back to let her in. They're out back. She hesitated in the entryway, looking around the house that had once been hers. I'd redecorated, removing painful reminders and creating a space that felt fresh and new. You've changed things, she observed. Had to. She nodded, understanding. It looks good, masculine, but not too bachelor pad. Thanks, I think. An awkward silence fell between us. Alex, she began, then stopped, seeming to struggle with her words. I never properly apologized. For everything. No, you didn't. I'm sorry, she said simply. What I did was unforgivable. I destroyed our family because I was selfish and stupid and thought I wanted something else. I studied her face, noting the genuine regret in her eyes. Why are you telling me this now? She shrugged slightly. I'm in therapy, working on accountability, taking responsibility for my actions. That's good, I'm glad. I don't expect forgiveness, she continued. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did, and I live with that regret every day. From the backyard came the sound of the boys laughing, a welcome interruption to the heavy conversation. Come on, I said. They'll be happy to see you. As we walked through the house toward the back door, Lauren paused, touching my arm lightly. You're a good father, Alex. The best. I never should have tried to take them from you. No, I agreed. You shouldn't have. She dropped her hand, accepting the boundary. Do you think they'll ever fully trust me again? I considered the question seriously. Kids are more forgiving than adults. Give them time. Be consistent. Keep showing up. That's all any of us can do. She nodded, blinking back tears. And you? Will you ever forgive me? I looked at her, this woman I'd once planned to grow old with, the mother of my children, now essentially a co-parent and nothing more. I'm working on it, I said honestly. Not for your sake, but for mine. And for them. She accepted this with a sad smile. That's fair. We stepped out onto the patio together, and the boys spotted their mother immediately. Mom! Colin shouted, running toward her with unrestrained joy. Jaden followed more slowly, his welcome warm but more reserved. As I watched Lauren hug our sons, I felt a weight lift slightly from my shoulders. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but we were all moving forward. The scars would remain, but they wouldn't define us. Later that night, after Lauren had left and the boys were in bed, I sat alone on the patio with a beer, looking up at the stars. My phone buzzed with a text from Amy, the kindergarten teacher I'd been seeing casually for a few weeks. Still on for dinner tomorrow? I smiled and typed back, absolutely. The future stretched before me, uncertain but full of possibilities. Not the future I'd planned, but perhaps the one I needed. One where I was stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to protect what mattered most. The sound of small feet on the patio made me turn. Jaden stood in the doorway in his pajamas. Can't sleep, buddy? I asked. He shook his head and came to sit beside me. Dad? Are you and Mom ever getting back together? I put my arm around him. No, champ. That's not going to happen. He nodded, seeming unsurprised. That's okay. I like how things are now. You do? Yeah. You're happier. You smile more. He leaned against me. And Mom is nicer too. She doesn't look at her phone all the time when I'm with her. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm glad to hear that, I said, squeezing his shoulder. Dad? Yeah. Thanks for not leaving. For fighting for us. I swallowed hard against the sudden lump in my throat. Always, Jaden. That's what fathers do. We sat together in comfortable silence, looking up at the vast Texas sky until he fell asleep against my side. As I carried him back to bed, his words echoed in my mind. Thanks for not leaving, for fighting for us. Some battles are worth every scar they leave behind, and some victories aren't about winning at all, but about protecting what matters most, even when it hurts. In the end, that's what love really is. Not the fairy tale or the fantasy, but the choice to stay, to fight, to rebuild from the ashes of what was lost. As I tucked the blanket around my sleeping son, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd make that choice again and again, every single day, for the rest of my life.